I looked like I had lost every member of my family in a fire. I had snot like pouring out of my nose. Like I was hyperventilating, sending Robert this video and just be like, I think that has been one of my biggest strengths throughout my career and has probably seen me like rise really quickly. I've just always been me, and in a newsroom, sometimes that is definitely looked down upon. I remember I had people in my DMs be like, am I in it? Am I in it? Is this in it? Like all of this. To work on a show like that, to work with people like that, to go into the office every day and you work with your best friends, like on screen or behind the scenes. Like that's honestly how it felt when I was there. We're both very firm on just wherever the other is, that's home. So we don't see home so much as a physical location or a city or a place. It's really just whenever we're together.
Georgie Tunny, welcome to the Stella Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. First time you and I are sitting down chatting in this sort of environment. And look, what a way to have one of our first episodes of 2026, because Georgie, you have very much kicked off the year with the bang. First of all, happy birthday for yesterday.
Thank you so much.
Turned 35, so you're still a very, very young woman. But of course, you've also started the year professionally on a big high note. You have taken over from Chris Bath as the host of 10 News Weekend. Did you see yourself in this news anchor essentially running a newsroom at the very young age of 35?
I love that you are still calling me a young woman. Thank you very, very much. That means a lot to me right now because I feel like when I turned 30, I had absolutely no qualms about it. I was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. No worries. That's all good. 35 feels different to me. And I don't know why. I'm hoping it's a positive thing, but maybe it's just because I'm entering this new life, like this new transition of life, maybe. And there's a lot of new things and a lot of new projects that I'm really excited about for this year. So maybe there's just this apprehension with the year. That's what I'm talking. I'm hoping that it's like a positive apprehension, not like, oh my God, my life is nearly over. Like I hope it's not that. I hope it's not that. But I think if you had told like 7-year-old me who dreamt of becoming a sports reporter, like all I wanted to do was follow around the Brisbane Broncos because I was a Brizzy girl and I just wanted to follow around the Brisbane Broncos and report on the Olympics. And the thought of being an anchor with my own bulletin, you know, as you say, it's leading a newsroom. I don't even think I let myself dream that big at that time, if that makes sense. Like that seemed like something, such a far off realm of possibility. But I think I had a pinch me moment the other day where, you know, I was walking in the newsroom and Sandra Sully's there and just says like, hi. And she like races over to me to talk to me about this story that she wants me to cover. And I was like, what is my life? Like, what's my life? How did this happen? How did this happen? So I'm just genuinely really excited. I'm really excited for this year.
As you say, there's a lot going on for you. No wonder that you do feel like that you are entering a new chapter or era, as your icon Taylor Swift would say.
Thank you.
At this point in your life, birthday or not, because you and your fiance Rob Mills have recently relocated from Melbourne to Sydney. Georgie, as you just said, you're a Brisbane girl, but you have worked in Melbourne for many, many years. What feels like home for you? What feels like home for Rob? Because you both travel so much for work.
We're both very firm on just wherever the other is, that's home. So we don't see home so much as a physical location or a city or a place. It's really just whenever we're together, I'm like, oh, okay, I can relax now. Or, oh, okay, this is great. I can exhale. And it's like if he's been traveling or if I've been traveling or we've been living interstate, which we've done for a lot of our, oh my God, we've been together 7 years now. So we've done for a lot of our relationship. It's always that moment where we're like, oh, my person's back. Oh, thank goodness. And it doesn't quite matter where we are. However, in saying all of that, I do still refer to Brisbane as home because my family's there. I feel like Sydney in our new place, we're living near the water. I feel like that feels the most like home though, that I I've had in a few years. I loved Melbourne and I loved my time there, but I think there's just something about being by the ocean if you can be by the ocean. And I've still got friends there from when I was a little baby cadet. And maybe that's part of it too. Like I first moved to Sydney straight out of uni. I was a cadet with the ABC for 4 years before moving, well, for a year, and then I was working there as a presenter before I moved to Melbourne. And maybe there's that nice little synergy or tie in that everything has kind of come back to where it started. And now I'm, you know, have this incredible new job, but I'm back in the city that sort of started it all, if that makes sense. So I guess Robert is home. Sydney's home for now. Brisbane is like my forever space that well, it will always have my heart.
I love that. I love how you said that. Also, home is wherever the two of you are. I mean,
Mm.
it's romantic in the most genuine and sincerest use
Oh,
of the
we're so
word, I
cute.
think.
Yuck.
You are cute, though. You are. Also, Georgie, just thinking back to the fact that this role as a news anchor seemed so elusive when you were growing up, and that you'd be walking around the newsroom and go, "Oh, Sandra Sully's run over to say hi to me. Hi, Sandra." Also, the fact that news has changed so much. And for younger generations, the generations coming up, your generation, we have seen such, obviously, a change in how news is distributed and how it's consumed by people. So, how do you bring that approach to working in a traditional newsroom, in that it's broadcast media, it's one of the main networks in the country, free to air, but obviously also catering for knowing that you have your audience and consuming the content wherever they will find it, from TikTok through to social media on their devices, all the usual things that we've been talking about for a few years now.
But I remember like one of my first journalism lectures, they were like, okay, well, newspapers are dead, guys, and the industry's dead. So, like, good luck.
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah, yay, guys,
this
out you
is de-
go.
this is day one. Like, what? And now I'm like, people who are studying it now, I just think, what on earth are they saying? Because it's like the death of journalism and news and the news industry and newsrooms has been like prophesized for decades now, it feels like. And yet, still here, I actually think they're more important than ever. And I mean that in a traditional newsroom sense. I think that trust is more important than ever. And so having that, um, still having that space of a traditional newsroom with those resources, be it as they are ever dwindling, is really important. So you can kind of sort through, for want of a better phrase, the fake news from the truth and the facts and everything that's going on in between. And saying all of that, I mean, I also consume a lot of my news content and my information on my phone. Like that's just how it is. That'll be a challenge this year, is striking the balance of having the traditional 5 p.m. news bulletin that people can tune into on their free to air, but then also making sure that the content itself is available wherever, because the thirst for content is it, as insatiable as it's ever been. Probably more, I'd say. It's just how people are actually getting that. So I'm still buoyed that newsrooms exist. I think that they're so important to the fabric of a functioning society. Um, and I'm excited to be a part of it this year.
I love that answer, and a thread I think through your career, Georgie, as I would observe it, has actually been that commitment to news, and you've always worked in different environments that have been updated and new and innovative ways of distributing the news.
That's so nice of you to say, because I feel like I don't know. I'm such a news nerd, and this is, probably I think that everyone consumes news the same way as me, but that's not the case. Like news is my white noise. Like I'll get home and I'll put on the television. Do you know what I mean? And it will have I'll just be flipping between all of the different news channels, and it's just always on in the background, and I'm always like figuring out what's going on. So it's always just there. I guess other people, I don't know, meditate. So maybe I should look into that. But I've just got, instead of Enya, it's like the Channel 10 theme song, like.
Georgie, of course, as well as working on 10 News Weekend hosting that, you've been part of 10 News Plus, which
Yeah.
is the weeknight news program that actually replaced the project. So are you still going to be part of that? And then does this mean are there any days of the week? Because we know that you're working Saturday, Sunday, so you're getting any weekdays off.
Yes, yes. So I am still going to be working with 10 News Plus, and I love that team. They're so much fun. So I work for them 2 days at this stage. So I'll do my 2 weekend days and then I'll work another couple of days with 10 News Plus or kind of slot in wherever 10 News may need me. I'm really excited that hopefully there might be more opportunities in 10 Sport as well with some of the broadcast there because that is my first love. And then I will have some days off so that I can follow other creative pursuits because while I do, as you have rightfully pointed out, adore news, will always love news. It is like the cornerstone of everything that I do and am interested in. What's kind of got my brain ticking again is like having the space to just be creative. I think it started when I started working in podcasts, actually. So whether that be my sports podcast that I have with my girlfriend Abby Gelmy or my Taylor Swift podcast that I have with my girlfriend KP, I mean, those are areas where it is just like being ultimate fangirls, but authoritative fangirls, if that makes sense. And it's brought such joy to my life outside of the news cycle, which can be, really harrowing. So to have those kind of outlets is super fun and to be able to think about making content in different ways. And then also, I've been writing. So I've always written since I was a kid. Writing was my favorite subject in school. Like I'm when I say I'm a nerd, I mean I'm a nerd. Like I'm that person. So I will have a few days off during the week, which I intend to just completely throw myself into all these other creative avenues, whether that be writing, whether that be TV show pitches, whether that be different development ideas for podcasts, and just throw a whole bunch of ideas at any wall and see if anything catches.
Well, you mentioned writing, so let me ask you about that because your debut novel, I believe, is called Over to You, is coming out in June this year, and it's about three friends who all want to become Australia's, next top news presenter.
Ooh,
Sounds
nice.
sound
We should have
sound.
a reality show.
We should,
Sorry, you need to copyright that.
well, you've got a couple of spare weekdays by the sounds of it, Georgie. So let's get that
So
happening.
right. It's one of
Australia's
those ideas.
next top news presenter. So obviously this is a little bit of drawing on your own experience, I would assume. Is that right? And how did you find the process of writing a book? Had that been on the bucket list since you were a young girl, thinking maybe one day you'd work in a newsroom?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think it was not even, working in the newsroom. It's like my ultimate goal was to be that sports reporter. And then when I got closer to that, I always was like my spare time, my favorite hobby, was writing. Like or reading. So I would disappear into these books. Like I was that kid who sat down with Harry Potter the day that it came out and I would read it and not move from my chair until I finished because you couldn't go to school that the next day because you get all the spoilers. So I was like, well, I have to do this. So if I wasn't reading, I was writing. So I think I always had this ambition, or I call it like an ultimate sort of dream of being like, I would love to be an author. If I could release a book, I think that would be, one of the greatest achievements of my life and something that I would be most proud of. And so now that it's happening, I can't quite it's too surreal for me to think about. It's like I won't believe it until I have the copy in my hand. Like I'm currently still working through all of my book edits, like my final copywriting edits, and then I get like a physical manuscript or something that you write through. So in all honesty, I'm just like geeking out over the whole process. Like I've loved it. It's been so stressful. It's lived rent free in my brain for the last, when did I start writing it? Maybe like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So every time I'm not writing, I'm thinking about writing, like that old cliche. Um, but I'm just so thrilled that I've I've actually written it. And yes, it is based very loosely on things that have happened, but I think that there are some universal experiences for anyone who's been in a newsroom, that hopefully they get, they get a bit of a kick out of reading and being like, oh yeah, that is exactly what it's like. And then people who have no experience just being like, oh my God, is this drama? Like, is this actually realistic? And I'm like, yeah, I probably could have gone even further. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm excited for people to read it and just to see what they think about it, because I've lived with the characters and the plots and all the narratives and all that. Like, I've lived with it for 3 4 years when I probably first had the idea, so it doesn't actually seem quite real.
It is a really massive achievement. Seriously, congratulations. I'm just imagining that moment when you do the unboxing
Oh
and
my
you
God, I'm
get
going to
your
be like the
first
most
copy.
hysterical person on earth. Like, I'll probably have to film because everything gets filmed these days. So me like actually like opening it, I'll just sob. There already is. People are always like, "Do you ever get nervous when people like see you on the internet, like how you are?" And in all honesty, no, because I don't think I can be anyone other than myself. And I think that that has been one of my biggest strengths throughout my career, and has probably seen me like rise really quickly because I've just always been me. And in a newsroom, sometimes that is definitely looked down upon, I would say, because you have to be the authority and you have to be this and you have to be that. But I'm just me, and everyone, it seems to, relate to that, and it works. So there's already a video of me out there. I remember it was like a couple of years ago. I just signed the book deal, and which again, as I say, I reiterate, it's like the biggest thing that's ever happened to me. So I just signed the book deal, and it was my birthday. Oh wow, yeah, fortuitously, what this timing. And Robert had got me the best present I think anyone could ever get me, which is he got my favorite author, Melina Marchetta, who wrote Looking for Other Brandy, Saving Francesca, Finnegan of the Rock. Um, he got her to send me a signed copy of a book from my favorite series, Finnegan of the Rock, of hers, that just said, if you like, dear Georgie, I heard you got a book deal. Like, your fiance is really proud of you. If you need a reader, let me know. And it was from her. And I got home. I remember, and he was in Perth, I think, working on Anne Juliet. And I just got home and I was like, crying to the point of, Kim Kardashian's ugly cry. It was that, but like, she's still Kim Kardashian, so she still looks arguably okay. I looked like I had lost every member of my family in a fire. I had snot like pouring out of my nose. Like, I was hyperventilating, sending Robert this video, just be like, oh my God, like what? And of course, that found its way onto the internet. And it was just like, I'm like, look, it's if for me to actually then have my own book like in my hands,
There'll
like
be
who knows? I'll need
tears.
to be sedated. I'll need
Yeah,
to be sedated.
there will be tears. There will be a lot of ugly crying. I don't know. I think you and Kim Kardashian, I don't think either of you look bad when you cry, but still. Um,
That's lovely of you.
I was going to do that annoying journo thing and say, well, obviously still editing
Mhm.
the debut novel, but, do you think there's another book in you, Georgie? But, did you enjoy the process? And I'm sure that a lot of people asked you when you first signed the book deal, maybe even your publisher, why fiction and why not memoir or non-fiction?
Yeah. Like, I remember going to a dinner party once and asking everyone there, like, if you could only read one book for the rest of your life, just that one, again and again and again, like, what book would it be? And I remember my jaw was on the floor because everyone at the table said a non-fiction book, and like, nothing against the genre, but I was like, you've got one book to read for the rest of your life, and you're not disappearing into an imaginary world of like mystery and magic or romance or sex. Like, you're not disappearing into that. Like, you're not escaping there. You're like there being like, the truth of stoicism is that. Look, it all has its spot, but it's just not my thing. And maybe that's because I work in news. Like, I work with facts. My day to day is nonfiction. So for me, when it's writing in my head, I was just like, I love writing things. I see them as all my scenes I see as like a movie or a TV series. Like, so I'm just like writing it all out like that. Um, and that was the same as how I found with this process for this book. It's so funny that you mentioned the second book, because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say, but when I wrote my first draft of this book, and I was like, she's nailed it. Oh my God. And my feedback from my publisher was like, oh yeah, cool. But like, you kind of need to finish this book, because I had left it being like, cliffhanger, book two, signed, sealed, delivered. Here we go. That's how you get a book deal, second book deal. Let's make it a series. And they're like, yeah, no, you can't actually leave on that cliffhanger though. Like, you kind of have to like finish this arc, and then we'll like see how it goes. I was like, you're so right. You're so right. I get it. So I would love for this to be a series. I have so many different like ideas for what that could look like if this book does well.
Georgie, you worked, of course, famously on the project before it went off air halfway through last year. Do you think some of your fabulous The Project co hosts, which of course include a huge lineup of some of the biggest names in the country, a lot of up and coming names as well, but of course, Carrie Bickmore, Waleed Ali, Lisa Wilkinson, do you think that anyone, Sarah Harris, is going to recognise themselves or a behind the scenes anecdote when they read over to you? Are you prepared for a couple of DMs and text messages going, oh my God, am I so and so? Or I think I know who so and so might be.
Do you know what? I am prepared for some DMs because I've already got some. So I've already, like, when I announced that I had the book coming out, that Over to You is officially coming out in June, I remember I had people in my DMs be like, am I in it? Am I in it? Is this in it? Like all of this. And in complete honesty, there are parts of the book that is like, different stories that have happened or, things that are based on things that I've gone through. And this isn't giving anything away. It's a little bit of a spoiler or a sneak peek. There's a scene in the book where like one of the girls just like walks out of a broadcast, and I mean, I that is based on just something happening to me. I've definitely done that before. It was like seconds before I was going to go to air, and I was upset about something that had happened outside the newsroom, and I literally, the anchor looked at me and was like, are you okay? And I just went and just left. Like I just left. I couldn't do my bulletin. So that's where the idea had initially came, that's where the idea initially came from, because I was like, oh my God, it is actually quite dramatic news. So how wonderful. But in terms of other people recognizing themselves, I don't think so. I don't, because I didn't really base, it's all like little bits and pieces of here and there and everywhere. Like I would say I'm all of the girls and none of the girls, like personally, like they exist in their own right to me, as do all of the characters. So I'm expecting DMs, but in all honesty, I did not base one character on a single person, in all honesty.
Georgie, I know you get asked this all the time, but of course, the project, the outpouring of love and grief, let's be honest, from so many quarters when that show went off air. Did that surprise you? How did you feel about it? Was it a bittersweet experience? And of course, you then stayed on air, that you were then part of 10 News Plus, and now you're moving into this weekend anchor role as well. So, I mean, what was the reality for you at the time? And as we're talking, coming up to, almost a year later now.
Yeah, God, isn't that crazy? It was definitely bittersweet because I think, and I've said previously, but it was such a wonderful thing to be able to take for granted, if that makes sense, to work on a show like that, to work with people like that, to go into the office every day and you work with your best friends, like on screen or behind the scenes. Like that's honestly how it felt when I was there. I mean, I got to live my dream for 3 years. Like that, a mixture of everything. Because I think when I first started in working in media, everyone was like, you must just pick one thing. Like you just have to do one thing. So if you're going to be the sport girl, you have to be the sport girl. And I was like, yeah, but I can also be the pop culture girl. Yeah, I can also be the hard news girl. Like, yeah, I can also do this. And they're like, no, that's just impossible for people's brains to comprehend. And I was like, I really don't think it is. And then there was a show that was like The Project. And I was like, if I could ever work on that, that's amazing. And I got to do that before 35. And I think that when that finished, it was such a huge sense of loss that I probably didn't let myself feel at the time of it. I was so conscious of the audience feeling it and letting them go through that and them say goodbye to this thing that had been in their lives for, you know, nearly 20 years. Like it doesn't happen. Shows don't get to last that long. So I don't think I let myself fully think about it. And now in the months since, like I just miss my friends. Like I miss hanging out with Waleed, even though, I literally have messages from him that I've not replied to because I'm so bad at text. Like I'm so bad on messages. And he loves me anyway, loves me anyway despite that. Like I miss Samuel, I miss Sarah, I miss all the guys behind the scenes. Susan Youssef, she's just the light of my life. So I miss having the chance to see them every week. I got to work with Rove like that. I could call him any time of day and he would take my call because he's the best. So yeah, I think I'm still probably processing it, to be honest. It honestly, the most it's hit me since that last show where I was the only one that bloody cried. I was like, God, guys. Well, he got like it's slightly emotional, and I was there like just sobbing. Um, but I think the biggest moment that it hit me was actually watching The Amazing Race back.
Mm.
Because when we had like some friends came over to watch that, Hamish McDonald was one of them who I worked with very closely on the show. We watched the finale together at the end of last year, and we'd shot it in March 2025. So like I kept like looking at me and I was like, oh, she didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're watching this and I remember being on the race and everyone was like, can't wait to be on the project to like talk to you about like what's gone on, like all of our experiences. Like the sassy boys are like, see you in the studio. Feb's like, can't wait to have you on the radio. Like, we're gonna all like catch up on the project. And then for that to not exist and we're like watching it all play out, I was like, oh, it was very different. I was like, even though it was only like 4 months or so, like after the show ended, I was like, I'm a different person again. Like I'm completely different than who that girl was. Um, so yeah, I think it's still pretty raw. But in saying that, still being with 10 and still having 10 support has been, so wonderful to have that like throughout the whole process. And working on the new show with a new team, like they're also great. Like they're really, really wonderful people who are just trying to do the best job that they can. And I'm enjoying getting to know them more too. So I hope that, it's always going to be this wonderful part of my life, but I definitely miss it.
With 10 News Plus, like the project before it, everyone on the internet has an opinion.
Oh
You
yeah.
and I both know, you don't need to work in media to know this, that people tend to be a lot more forthcoming with their unkind, unsolicited opinions than with nice things in life. So the
Yeah.
project always came in for all of this disproportionate, in my view, amount of criticism. And then, of course, when it went off air, everyone was like, oh, what, where did you go? Was it something we
Yeah.
said? Yeah, it was something
Yeah.
that you said. And then, of course, 10 News Plus came in, and all of a sudden everyone is like, blah, 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 same sort of thing. So for you, as you say, working with a new team that have come in there, what's your observation been of that? And of you, I mean, I realise that you're working with some extremely experienced people on 10 News Plus, but again, for you that sort of withstood it. You're like, well, actually, you're really just hearing from the haters, believe me, because when things go away, you suddenly find out that might have been a very vocal minority.
In all honesty, 100%. Like I think what I've learned is that everyone needs a punching bag and the punches hit hardest early. So I think that when the project finished and there was such this outpouring of grief and love for the show, I was like, I remember all of us would like, look around and be like, guys, where were you? Like, where were you like the last like, 4 months when speculation got like all crazy? It's like, where'd you come from? Where'd you come from? Because I'm pretty sure like you just wrote the other day that you hated us. So I'm like, that's wild. I think I've always had a very healthy sense. Sometimes I've achieved it more like successfully than other times. A sense of not to take that kind of criticism or that kind of commentary too seriously. I think when I get most annoyed at it, it's when you've got, keyboard warriors that are so relentless and so vitriolic in what they have to say about different aspects of a show or different segments or different this, different that. And they're not seeing the bigger picture of, the project employed so many people. Like it wasn't just the four hosts that we had. It was like nearly 100, like so many people who just like lost their jobs. Do you know what I mean? And the same goes with us working at 10 News Plus or working on the news. It's like there's a broader community there. Like it's people's livelihoods. And everyone's very quick to forget that when they see something that I don't know, they don't like the camera angle. Like they didn't like my hair that day. I mean, I remember when I was at the ABC, I used to get targeted with messages being just like, oh, Georgie Tunny is, she is what's my favorite one? It was like, she represents everything that's wrong with the ABC. And I was like, oh my God, to think that I have that kind of power over someone's day. Like, I'm, you know, 24 just trying to like have a chat about the Broncos. Like, it's wild that that has had such an effect on you. But I think that, yeah, it's one of those constant reminders that if I get too in it and I get too stuck in all of the not so nice things that are said on the internet, like I just have to go outside and touch grass and breathe.
But
And hope that the people who are writing those things do too, because yeah, it doesn't. They don't see the people. I think people are very quick to forget people in those situations and what it's like to be human.
it's so true. And I think when something like The Project, which was such a big story when that show went off air, rightfully then a lot of people were saying, this is how many people have been impacted by this. This is how many people whose names and faces you will never know but work so hard. And obviously, thankfully, as you and I both know, not all of those people lost their jobs. And I even
Yeah.
know anecdotally through working in media and having worked on the show a few times that a lot of those great people have since been snapped up elsewhere. But
Yes.
it is a
Yes.
brutal environment, media. And like you, of course, I have lived through many closures of titles and redundancies around me. And what I wanted to ask again, I don't honestly don't like to talk about myself on the podcast, but I'm just giving my story there so this question doesn't sound loaded, as in I'm asking as somebody that often suffers from quote unquote survivor guilt.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that something that you have experienced, Georgie? And of course, as anyone that in listening to this that's gone through a redundancy in their field will know, it's when people around you, really great people, are losing their jobs and you are the one that survives, and can
Yeah.
be a very difficult time for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like especially in I remember when the project ended, I was back shooting another show for 10 like the week after. And then I took like a couple of weeks off for book leave and then I was back in a newsroom. So I think that I definitely had a bit of survivor's guilt for sure. Because I'm like, okay, well, I'm like straight back into it. I haven't really paused. And, I've got my really good friends messaging me being like, if you see any like jobs going, or if you see any opportunities or just let me know, always keep me in mind. And that kind of stuff, you go, oh, like it's, it is hard to process. And I think it just does make things, um, a bit sadder. Like you just if you focus on it too much, like it's just more it makes it even more emotional. An emotional thing just even hurt just that little bit more because you've been given this other opportunity which you're like, oh my God, amazing. Like, yes, I'll dive into that. Thank you. But you're also then leaving behind this sense of collective, oh no, like grief then. It's like I'm like, okay, I found a life raft. I'm gonna take the life raft, but then you're over here and it's the classic Kate prizing Leo's fingers off the door in Titanic. Like there's an element of that. But then I also remember like talking to my friends about it at the time and they were just like that you must do like you have to go that. And so your friends will always support you through everything. And that's the only reaction that I had from everyone else. So they helped me get through it.
Spoke about The Amazing Race. So you and Rob were competitors in the celebrity issue that aired late last year. Now, you and Rob were on the cover of The Watch List, the National TV Guide, to launch that series, and spoke about how competitive you were. Now, you
Yep.
didn't win. I mean, you were runner-up and made a lot of money for charity. But how did, not winning first place sit with a self-confessed competitive person, and in fact I'm sure Rob very competitive too?
I think I only didn't sleep for 3 days afterwards,
So nothing to see here. No ugly crying, no snot.
which for me that's not bad. I was like, that's a win. That's a win. It's only taken over my every thought, every second of every single day for 3 days. So that's okay. In all seriousness, like I just have the best memories of the entire experience. Like, made some of the best friends that are going to be forever friends, which you can't always say when you work on different shows. But I genuinely believe that because I genuinely know. And to lose to the Curry brothers, who are honestly angels on this planet. I mean, if we weren't, and I love Asian Scott as well, but I'm like, if we had to lose, I'm glad that we lost to them because they're just so beautiful. Cuz Stephen is like the funniest person on earth, and Bernie is just so freaking capable at everything he does. So they were absolute joys to go through the experience with, and like behind the scenes, like I'm pretty sure they adopted Robert as an unofficial Curry brother because they'd just be there playing the guitar and singing to us. Like it was honestly so wonderful. But being the competitive freak that I am, yeah, not being able to figure out a puzzle too, which is my other favorite thing because I don't know if I've mentioned this, I'm a nerd. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I didn't sleep for 3 days, and then I had to have a serious talk to myself, just being like, okay, you actually can't change it though. Like you actually can't change it. It happened, and then I could start sleeping again.
Um, as you say, parts of your relationship, of course, are documented on a series like that. And we spoke to you and Rob about that before the show aired when you were on the watch list cover. Now, having rewatched it, as you say, and seeing it through a different lens because it was after the fact, how would you recommend this as a form of couples counselling? I mean, you and Rob are engaged. Is this a recommended course, do you think, of intensive therapy before people potentially walk down the aisle?
100%. 100%. All you need to know if they're the love of your life is to go on the amazing race and see if you can survive it. Honestly, it's the biggest test. Like, there's so much pressure. There's so much like irritation. There's so much sleep deprivation sometimes. So you're just already like feeling antagonistic towards anyone. And then Robert would like breathe too loudly, and I'd be like, what are you doing? But also by the same flip side of that, there is so much love, there's so much pride. Like I've never been prouder than him than through the race. There was so much awe. I couldn't believe what he was able to do. Like he is just so uh capable at everything. I remember again, I was like the biggest takeaways from people when they watch it is that they're going to be like, why did she kiss that woman's feet? She's unattractively competitive, and what on earth is that beautiful, capable man doing with someone that can't even ride a bike? So that was very much like this duality of like, I hate you today, but I love you more than anything. And so if you can get through it, you can get married. You're going to have a long, happy marriage.
That sounds like the definition of a good relationship to me. You know, it's the light and the shade. Two observations. One, I'm, of course, saying Rob, as in Rob Mills, how Australia knows him, and you're saying Robert. So it's weird. So
Robert.
I feel like I'm being overly familiar
Oh no.
the way I'm talking about your fiance. But why Robert then? And is that because, this is an interesting thing, I think, with couples. You know how we often shorten names of our loved ones as
Yeah.
a form of endearment. And if they're known to everyone as a bit of a shorter name, then sometimes we will elongate the name
Yeah.
for that sort of intimacy. Is that what's happened there with you calling him
Yeah, it
Robert?
started really early. Like as soon as we started dating, I remember talking to my bestie, Jelmy, Abby Jelmy, and I remember saying to her, like we'd gone on one date, and I was just no, we'd gone on a few dates maybe, and I was just like talking about him, but I was calling him Millsy because that's how I knew him. And then I was like, I remember being like, she said to me, she goes, it must have been a few dates in or something, and I must have sounded like I was, into him. And Jelmy just goes, I think we can stop calling him Millsy now. And then ever since that moment, I started calling him Robert. Like Rob still felt too familiar to me. That was weird. It was like he wasn't a Rob. Like he was just never a Rob. So he's always been Robert. And it's funny because like my friends will call him Robert, and he calls me Tunny. So all of his friends call me Tunny. So it's like it's just that he's just like taken on. We've just got these two names that our
Yes.
different friendship groups. It's like if you came into our lives with me, I've brought you. You'll be able to tell because they're calling him Robert, or if he vice versa, you'll be able to tell them, oh, there was a Robert friend first because they call me Tunny.
You and Rob, when you did the watch list cover, of course, like annoying journalists, you were asked any wedding date and you were like, I'm pretty useless at locking things down. So I'll be that annoying, like aunt at family Christmas going, so what, is there a date, Georgie, in 2026? My final question is that, but also what, in addition to everything else that we've covered, what is on the slate for you this year ahead? The 11 and a half months almost that are left.
Yeah. I would love to be able to confirm that 2026 is going to be the year that we get married. I'm hopeful that it is, but we still haven't done anything about it. So, and I hear that weddings actually take a lot of work and planning, which I don't think we'll be great at again. But I would love to marry him this year, I think, and but hopefully he still wants to marry me. But I think I'd love to marry him this year. I'm just ready for him to be my husband. So let's say that 2026 is going to be the year that we get married. My best friend, one of my besties who lives in London, she's getting married. So we're going to go over there for her wedding. And she's like the first, where it's like I've got friends who've been married before, but it's like my core group. She's the first that's getting married, and I'm like, okay, she'll be and she was the last to get engaged, the first to get married, which is very her, but I'm like, that's just gonna snowball. And then my other girlfriend and I was like, okay, well, we'll get married too now. All right. So let's say yes, we're gonna get married this year. As for what else, I'm really excited to kind of not, this is gonna sound weird, but it's like I'm excited to say out loud everything that I want and what I want to achieve, and just not be so preoccupied by the cringe of it all, if that makes sense. Like, I think that, especially in Australia, especially in this industry, as soon as you say, oh, I want that, people are just like, ew, why do you think you can have that? So I'm going to fight against my urge to always dampen that down, and just be like, I want to be the anchor of a weekend news program, tick. I want to be, working towards having my own show one day, whether that be a podcast or whether that be a talk show, tick. I want to keep working on my podcasts and keep spotlighting fangirls, because I think that if you belong to a fandom, you belong to a community. It's one of the greatest joys in life. And I also want to be more mindful of reconnecting with friends and family, because I am such a career person, and I won't go, speaking of cringing, I'm like, oh, I hate that. But I am. So I would love to actively carve out a little bit more time for the things that matter the most, which is the people I love.
That sounds like an absolutely brilliant plan for the year, and I've got
I've
no
got a bit to fit in.
doubt you got a bit. You got a bit to fit in. You do, but all extremely exciting, and really look forward to talking to you a bit more about all of that at another time, if you can fit that one in as well. Also,
Yep.
how wonderful if there's a couple of other big weddings, not only your dear friend and maybe you and Rob, but of course, Taylor Swift. Getting married this year, Georgia. Just saying, it's when
Is
all the
it a
fabulous
coincidence
people.
she got engaged? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think she wanted to get married. She waited all this time for the year that we get married. She wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, she keeps an eye on your socials. So remember that next time you ugly cry. That Tay Tay
I
is.
always say she writes for me, so it would
She
make sense
does.
if she's stalking me just as hard as I stalk her.
Exactly. Georgie Tunny, it's been an absolute delight to talk to you. We will have a link to Georgie's Instagram in our show notes so you can follow everything she's doing. And of course, you can see her hosting 10 News Weekend on Saturdays and Sundays. Georgie, all the best for your jam-packed 2026.
Thank you, Sarah. That was so much fun. Love you.